So I recently saw Blaire White's video titled Transgenderism is a Mental Disorder, and honestly I have to disagree because, well, I'm having a hard time understanding her point, which I thought that was the whole point of her video, was to convey her point. She seemed to have somewhat of a convoluted logic behind it. So in the video, she starts off with the title and starts off by saying that transgenderism is a mental disorder, and then proceeds to say why. But she immediately switches to explaining why gender dysphoria is a mental disorder and not why transgenderism is a mental disorder. So I'd say she argues okay with saying why gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. I don't really have much argument against that. That can make sense. I don't feel that gender dysphoria is always a mental disorder. Likewise, regarding something she said there, I do not feel that depression is always a mental disorder. I feel that sometimes depression is just a problem of the world you live in, because sometimes the world is fucking terrible, and you just have a really bad time, and you feel that. So, like, at least in the sense of like light depression, like where people are just like, man, I fucking hate this, and just like they don't want to get up and get out of bed or whatever, and just like, because the world's kind of miserable. It's like, well, yeah, the world kind of is miserable. So I'm not sure if that would count as a mental disorder. That's just possibly a result of the world you live in and the life you lead. Well, also regarding gender dysphoria, I do not believe that gender dysphoria is always a mental disorder, because some people have, I would consider it light gender dysphoria, because a lot of people, whenever they're growing up, especially through puberty, they start questioning like, oh, do I really want to be this gender or whatever? And a lot of times they come to the conclusion that, yeah, this will work out fine. It's not really a big deal. But they did have like a light, well, like they were questioning themselves, and something was prompting them to question themselves. So I feel like that would still be gender dysphoria. That would be feeling uncomfortable with your gender, but at a very light scale, towards not mental disorder, you know? That's a different argument. That's more like a sub rebuttal, if that's the right term. But back to the main point of this video, and the point of that video, which was stating that transgenderism is a mental disorder. So she went over all the logic behind why gender dysphoria should be considered a mental disorder, and honestly, I don't disagree with that. But then she seemed to somehow just hop over to then that meaning that transgenderism is a mental disorder, even though she contradicted herself and said that transgenderism is the cure for gender dysphoria. I'm not very aware of a mental disorder being the cure for another mental disorder. I'm not aware of that, though. I could be wrong. But still, I personally think of transgenderism as the cure, not as a mental disorder. I don't see how that could possibly be. And her video didn't present any information that would make me think so. So I fail to see what her video was meant to be. I'm hoping that she doesn't really believe that. I'm hoping that that was just an artifact of trying to make a video. Because when you make videos, you mess things up. And you say things like, I have an issue where, well, at least I used to, whenever I did so many battery videos, instead of saying like a carburetor for an engine, I would say, oh, we got to clean out the battery. Clean out the carburetor. Because like, everything's a battery for my videos. And so whenever it's not a battery, and I forget the word, my brain just puts in battery as the word, and so I use it. And so I always get mixed up, and that's made it into several videos. So I could definitely understand if that's just her not explaining it properly, or to the extent that I would like, or that I would understand in the video, because filming it can be a little bit hectic whenever you're trying to do everything in real time. But I get the feeling that she doesn't notice the logical issue, or just like how those don't link up. Because I don't consider gender dysphoria to be the same as transgenderism. I believe them to be very different. Because gender dysphoria is something you are afflicted with. It is the result of an issue. We don't understand the issue. It could be some issue with the architecture of our brains. And I use issue lightly, but it's some unexpected difficulty that's popping up an error message, and for us, that error message is a subconscious like sense of, wow, I really don't like my body. Something's wrong with this. And so that's the error message. It says, well, yeah, I can definitely agree. That is gender dysphoria, but transgenderism is the cure for that. And like for me, I would consider that, yeah, I really don't experience much gender dysphoria anymore. At this point, after transition, or not in transition, I'm not really sure when to consider ended, I feel much happier about myself. And at this point, I think the shittiness I feel about myself is just the normalness that everybody else feels. You know? Like, oh, if only I looked a little better or whatever. But everybody feels that. That's normal. It's not normal to have, like where you want to kill yourself and stuff like that. And so, I personally think that my gender transition did cure my gender dysphoria. And I do not believe that transgenderism is a mental disorder. And I have yet to see anybody that has any strong argument to say that transgenderism, meaning living as a transgender person, regardless of any other mental issues you might have, or if maybe it didn't fully cure your gender dysphoria. But just talking about transgenderism itself, I don't think it's not the same thing. You can't say that because gender dysphoria is a mental disorder that transgenderism is thus a mental disorder, even though it's the solution. I don't know. So yeah, I disagree, and I hope that I'm explaining it properly, because I watched her video twice, and I couldn't, I felt like maybe there was like 30 seconds cut out of that video, and I don't know, like, what did I miss? Like, wait, how did we get to that solution? Or how did we get to that verdict or opinion at the end that transgenderism is a mental disorder? And I seem to not remember her even saying it at the end. She's just saying, oh, and thus it is a mental disorder. So I can't tell if she's immediately switching from talking about gender dysphoria or talking about transgenderism, even though the title of the video is Transgenderism is a mental disorder, and she starts off the video saying transgenderism is a mental disorder. So I hope she makes a follow-up video of that, explaining her opinions more, because I don't understand exactly what she was talking about. But hey, I'm like a week behind on my YouTube subscriptions, so maybe I should have just checked her channel to see if she made like a part 2 or something. So I should have done that. Well, anyway, that's my response to that video, and I felt that I felt I had something to say, so I said it. I hope to hear from you guys, what you guys think of my assessment and my reaction towards that video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching. See ya!